All right, we're going to take a look at the three-component for loop. Now, the three-component for loop is a great option if you know what your starting value is going to be and what you want your ending value to be. So we have our three-component for loop here. There's our first component, our second component, and our third component. And these are separated by a semicolon. Make sure not to put a semicolon behind the third component because that's just going to cause an error. So our first component is going to go ahead and set our initial value. Our second component is going to be our stop condition. And as long as this is true, this will continue running. This has to get a false to break loose of the loop. And our third component here is either going to increment or decrement our value so that it approaches our stop condition. If we accidentally send it the other way, well then we've just created an infinite loop. So in our example here, let's go ahead and run this first. There we go. So starting off, it sets the value to 1. So 1 is assigned to I. It checks to see if I is less than 11, and it is, so it returns true here, and the loop will go ahead and execute this block of code. So 1 gets printed to the screen. Then it goes back up to here, and it increments our value by 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Now, after all that's done, we start over again at our stop condition, and since 2 is less than 11, it's going to go ahead and run this again, print 2 to the screen, and then increment it again, which makes 3. Back to our stop condition, still less than 11, run this code, print 3 to the screen, and this will continue running until finally we get the number 11, and since 11 is not less than 11, then it's not going to run this block of code. It's just going to break out and go down to the next section of code. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. Let's take a look at our other example here. And let's go ahead and run that. All right. As you can see here, we're assigning the value 4 to I, so that's where we're going to start. And then we go to our stop condition. And since 4 is greater than -5, we'll go ahead and run this block of code. We run this block of code, and we're just printing out 4. Then finally, we go ahead and decrement by 1, taking the value to 3, and we start over again. 3 is still greater than -5. We run our block of code, print 3, and so on and so on. So as you can see here, you can have all kinds of different, starting and stopping locations. The important thing is just to remember to make sure that you're incrementing or decrementing, that you will eventually come across your stop condition. We want that to become false, or else this will create an unintentional infinite loop. All right, I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.